Okay, this is what 32 really cold yellow-bellied sliders and river cooters look like. And some of them still got ice on their shells, but I've checked on all of them individually, and every one of them's alive. And what I'm doing here is just allowing them to slowly, gradually warm up to a slightly warmer temperature, and I don't want to shock them, so I'm not going to apply any direct heating, no basking lamps or heat pads or warm water or anything like that. Just exposure to warmer air temperature is sufficient right now. And they're actually about to be moved into the next room over in just a minute, the hibernation room, which was running about 42 degrees last time I checked. And they'll stay in there for the next couple of days until this winter weather passes, and when we get back to a normal north central Texas winter, then I'll move them back outdoors to the koi pond. And typical winter day around here is around we might have high temperatures anywhere from the 30s to the 60s and maybe 20s or 30s at night. Oddly enough, we were in the 70s and 80s just a few days ago, and now we're about 15 degrees outside for high temperature, and going to be about 6 degrees tonight. And that's just a bit more than I'm going to have them endure right now. They would actually be okay under those conditions if I increase the water depth, but I'm not going to be able to keep the ice from forming over the top, and with as cold as it is outside, I would have to hook up a heater or a heat lamp or go out very frequently and break the ice over the top so that they could come up for air. They would be okay at the bottom of the pond, but it's the formation of the ice over the top which keeps them from surfacing that's really the problem. So I'm just going to keep them indoors and observe them too, see how they're doing. But one of the things I wanted to illustrate was if you run across a very cold turtle or an injured one or one that's ill, and if you're a lay person and you want to just do a quick check and see if the turtle's still alive, you know, it may be tucked into its shell and not very responsive, and one of the things you can do is just try to grasp one of its little limbs there, and like this guy's doing, he's going to try to keep his limbs in his shell. And if you're actually able to grab one of their little feet and give it a slight tug, you'll feel some resistance, and they'll try to jerk the limb away from you and tuck it back into their shell. That's not always indicative. If they don't respond to this, that doesn't necessarily indicate that they are dead, because you can have a situation where a turtle is just very, very cold or very sick, and they may not necessarily respond to tugging on one of the limbs. But this is just a quick test to verify. You know, if you do get some resistance, then, well, you know right off the bat that the turtle is alive. And as the other video should indicate, it's these guys can tolerate some very low outdoor temperatures, and some people are apprehensive of hibernating their animals, and I have heard that out there on some turtle enthusiast websites, there are people out there who on certain websites, hobbyist websites, they recommend against people hibernating their red-eared sliders as if this is something that can't be done in captivity, and as this should indicate, these videos I've made, that's false. It's not rocket science. You do need to have some, you need to meet certain criteria and make sure your water depth is sufficient, and that you have a means of dealing with the ice so that they can surface when they need to and come up for air. You're going to have to put, you know, a tank heater, or you know, an outdoor like a livestock tank heater out there, or heat lamps, or you're going to have to manually frequently break the ice. But this doesn't need to be something that you're deathly afraid of. You just need to be aware of all the factors going into it, and if you meet certain criteria, the animals will do what comes naturally. But of course, they need to be fasted. Anytime you hibernate a reptile, they need to be fasted for a number of weeks or up to a month before you allow them to hibernate. Otherwise, they could get ill, as the undigested waste in their bowels will decompose and cause them to turn septic. So you want to make sure they're fasted and voided. And like here, I will frequently, if we don't have a warm day and they don't wake up on their own, I will wake up my hibernating animals somewhat frequently and just hydrate them and allow them the opportunity to warm slightly and void any waste they have. I never feed them if you're going to return them to hibernation, and even if I'm bringing them out of hibernation, they're never fed right off the bat. The first step is to very slowly warm them back up to what would be a normal temperature range for that animal, and hydrate them. And after a few days, they kind of get back into the cycle of things, and all their digestive tract and kidneys and everything starts to function more normally again for coming out of hibernation, and then you'll feed them at that time. But like I said, this is it's not rocket science, and if you allow the animals to do what would come naturally to them in the wild, if they are a hibernating species, then there is some scientific literature that indicates this can have some positive effects on longevity, and with a lot of species it can trigger mating behaviors when they come out of hibernation. They're ready to mate, and I kind of regard it as like a reset. It's like a reset button. But certainly it's my opinion that these animals are really not that difficult to hibernate as far as reptiles go. All the lizards, snakes, turtles, tortoises, everything I've dealt with. These aquatic turtles here, as long as you meet the criteria I mentioned earlier, they're actually one of the easier reptiles you could hibernate. So you just put them out there under the right conditions, and they're kind of on autopilot. And I'm going to go ahead and move them over to the hibernation room and let them drop back down into their hibernation state.